Randy, that looks excellent. I don't know what you did to the system, but that's very good.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
Scream, shout, whine, cry, snivel, piss, and moan like a little 12-year-old girl.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
Shove your opinion up your ass. You may as well. Your head is already up there.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Don't forget the ever-present and the most likely third possibility. You are wrong, and I am right. Yes, and welcome to another edition. Please, 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 enough. Well, okay, go ahead. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious, brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. I am your host, Skippy. In the control room is the lovely and adorable Randy, who has revamped... who has revamped the sound system here for recording. We're getting nicer waveform than we normally get on the recorders. Everything's looking good. What was I talking about? Ah, yes! The website address for the Cynical Libertarian Society is still 204eastsouth.com/CLS. The email address, if you want to contact us here at Stating the Obvious, is God. That's God, as in dog spelled backwards. God at 204eastsouth.com. The theme song, I have been forgetting to mention this. I have not credited that's all, folks. I have not credited the theme song for Stating the Obvious in many editions. Why have you let that slip, Randy? You're supposed to be on my ass. The theme song for Stating the Obvious is You Know I'm Right by David Gilmour off the 1984 solo album About Face. David Gilmour, of course, being the guitar player for Pink Floyd. It is the 2nd of January 2006. Colorado, winter. God, I love global warming. It's 60 degrees outside. It is so beautiful here. This is what winter should be all about. 60 degrees, sunshine, lovely day. In fact, I really don't want to be in the studio, even though it is the palatial recording studios of the Cynical Libertarian Society. I really don't want to be here in the studio right now. I'd much rather be outside. I need to be outside running, lose a little bit of this weight I put on over the holidays. Coffee. And that was a nice big puff off my stogie. What was I talking about? Yes, I don't really want to be in the studio, but you people out there are so important. Well, that's what you tell yourselves. You people out there are such nitwitted assholes that I need to be here to tell you what the truth is in some futile attempt to make you understand why you're stupid. I got a stack of things here. We're going to see how much of this I can get through in this edition. And what we don't get through, well, there's always later tonight. We'll probably do a food break, Randy. Then we'll come back and do some more. And I picked up Kung Fu Hustle on DVD from the library. Yes. We may watch some of that. Alright, let's get started here. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think I have. First thing I'm going to do, I want to trek through some issues of some magazines here that I've got. Liberty and Reason. I got a few things earmarked in these that I need to talk about. San Francisco, this is from the San Francisco Chronicle. Mayor Gavin Newsom explains the proper role of government. Mayor Gavin Newsom says, and I quote, "If we can't change people's behavior and make them think what's in their best interest, then that's when a government comes along and becomes a bit paternalistic," unquote. So in other words, if the government cannot change your behavior, then the government gets to come along and force you to change your behavior. This is the frightening thing is, this is the mindset of, oh yes, thank you, Randy, I forgot all about that. This is the mindset that you people out there seem to have. This is one of the common themes you'll hear me talking about in Stating the Obvious as you listen to these shows. You'll hear me mentioning how you people constantly need the government to do things for you. And this is a huge problem. I know many of you don't see that as a problem. And this brings us back to why I see no difference between liberals and conservatives, between the right and the left, between the atheist left and the Christian right. Both of you are exactly the same in that you need this guiding force, and when I say force, I mean force as in the use of force. You need this guiding force to tell you right from wrong. Liberals need the government to decide what's right and wrong and enforce that, and if people don't want to conform, the government needs to come down and hammer on them. Conservative Christians, right-wingers, have the same problem, although most often their guiding force that hammers on people who don't do what's right is, of course, God. Penn and Teller. This has nothing to do with God. For the first time, I watched some of and I still have some more to watch some of the episodes of Penn and Teller Bullshit, which is on Showtime for those of you who... I was going to plug the link. I don't know what it is offhand, though. The link to the website for Penn and Teller's Bullshit will be put up on the CLS website. This show is so good. And you know what's beautiful about it? It's not just that they take bullshit like talking to dead people and tarot cards and recycling. And what else did they do? Oh, plastic surgery. It's not just that they take all these things, make fun of them, put them in perspective, but they do it so well. Now, granted, Penn doesn't say the word fuck quite as often as I do. But nonetheless, there's nothing more reassuring than watching a show where somebody's making fun of recycling and going, what the fuck? And actually saying the word fuck. Oh, then the first one I saw was the one on PETA. Oh my god, the one on PETA was brilliant. In fact, Randy, I may have to do commentary on the Penn and Teller show, because that was great when the one little PETA animal rights wacko said that violence is not an ethical issue, it's a tactic. So using violence is not an ethical issue, according to PETA people. And it was, oh man, it was beautiful. And when they pointed out how PETA kills animals, when they pointed to PETA members wearing leather belts, it was so good. It was so good. Oh, and Randy didn't like the episode on the Bible, did you, Randy? When they took on the Bible. And it's true, I'd forgotten all about this right there. I'll save the Bible for when, because we're going to get to some religious stuff later. In fact, let me pull the Bible off the shelf so I don't forget. Yes, their episode on the Bible was beautiful. Oh, and lovely. Coffee. All right. My stogie went out too. That's not a good thing. We may have to pause later for me to relight. Do I have any matches in here? What? Yes, I know the people listening don't give a shit about my stogie, but I do. What was that? Okay. No, I thought I heard feedback in the monitors. Alright, back to the important things here. Naples, Florida. This is from the St. Petersburg Times. Felipe Santos hasn't been heard or seen from since Collier County Deputy Stephen Calkins arrested him for driving without a license in October 2003. When Santos's brothers tried to bail him out, they were told that the deputy had decided to let him go at Circle K. Terrence Williams hasn't been seen or heard from since Calkins caught him driving without a valid license in January 2004 and decided to let him go at a Circle K. Calkins has changed his version of events several times, given statements that contradict other evidence, and failed polygraph examinations. Sheriff Don Hunter says the two men may be, quote, purposely avoiding being found, unquote. So this deputy arrests two men. These two men subsequently disappear from the face of the earth, can no longer be found. And it apparently does not occur to anybody that maybe they should look into this situation. Again, another of my big issues with our society is the power we give our police force. I would look at this and I would think that this guy's some kind of wacko, because there are policemen wackos out there. We all know that. I'm not going to discuss policeman wackos because you can find plenty of evidence for policeman wackos on internet, libraries, all that other stuff. Oh yeah, libraries. No, I just thought of a story, but I don't have time to tell it right now. Then again, what the hell, it's my show, I can do what I want. A few years ago, I was doing research in the library with a group from my class. We were doing group work. Oh, God, I hate group work. Anyway, we're in the library. We're looking for material. And after doing the prerequisite internet searches, we went looking for some books, and this one young lady came with me. And as we were looking for the books, I was explaining how the book category system works, and little numbers and all this other shit. And she was amazed by this. And when I told her that if you had a book and its number in this library was 367.981, you could go to another library and it would be in 367.981, because there's a system for how books in the library are laid out according to what they're classified as, what they're about, author, all this other stuff. She was amazed by this. She could not, this was a college student at UNC, University of Northern Colorado, amazed by the fact that the books in the library are organized by a standard system. Isn't that incredible? What do we got here? Oh, talking about piggies. All the little piggies. Talking about pigs and the use of tasers. Tasers have become especially controversial in Florida, where people disappear at Circle K, where police recently have zapped a 6-year-old boy, a fleeing 12-year-old girl who is allegedly drunk, a 14-year-old girl in the back of a squad car. What was the 14-year-old girl doing in the back of the squad car with the policeman? Let's not go there. And a wheelchair-bound man brandishing scissors. It's policy in at least 3 Florida police departments. It's policy in at least 3 Florida police departments that tasers are appropriate for suspects merely offering passive physical resistance without posing any threat to officers or the public. In December 2004 alone, 3 Florida suspects died after being tasered. The Arizona Republic reported in January that it had discovered 84 deaths of shocked suspects since 1999 in the U.S. and Canada, although only 11 of those cases have medical examiners authoritatively blaming tasers for the deaths. Well, only 11 people have died from being tasered by corrupt policemen. What's interesting is that is, of course, 11 more people than have ever died from, say, for instance, smoking marijuana. Yet smoking marijuana is illegal, and you can go to jail for that. If you're a pig, tasering the 14-year-old girl in the back of your car is apparently perfectly acceptable. Let me flip the page here. What do I got going on here? This is an article talking about homeschooling and such as that. There's just an interesting quote in here. Matt Gandel, Executive Vice President of Achieve Incorporated, an education reform group that features blah blah blah, high-profile dickhead CEOs, says, quote, you can have more impact on something that's actually a system, unquote. What he's talking about here is the dichotomy of homeschooling versus public schooling. And he's saying that public schooling is better because public schooling is, of course, a giant system, and as he says in his quote, you can have more impact on something that's actually a system. Now, I would ask, and see, to me, and here we see that what's really happening here with the public school system is, of course, and some of you know this already, those of you who aren't stupid, those of you who survived public school with your brain intact, know that the actual purpose of public schooling is to make people who are smart enough to keep the economy running, but stupid enough that they're not ever going to question the government or the corporations or anything else. And here we essentially have this government puke admitting this, that with the public school system, you have a system, and it's easier to influence the system via, of course, money, via putting Pepsi machines in schools and getting kids hooked on their products. We talked about that, I think, in the last edition or edition before that. And this is all the more reason, and you would think that some of these fucking liberals and so-called progressives and all the other dirty fucking hippie crowd out there would be supporting homeschooling, private schooling, etc., as a way to escape the influence of the corporations, escape the influence of the government, escape the influence of the evil Republican presidents and all these other things. And yet, of course, these people are the biggest boosters of public schooling around, because they have no interest in you actually thinking for yourself. Not that the right wing does either. Homeschooling is big on the right wing simply because they can make sure everything is filtered through the bizarre eyes of the Bible. Man was created by God, yes. What do I got here? Mad. Mothers against drunk driving. Right. Yeah, the number, according to according to a recent study, number of people driving while drunk is on a rise. In reality, in reality, what's happening is, now I know we just had this happen in Colorado not too long ago. I don't know if it's happened where you live or not. But the legal limit for being actually drunk while operating an automobile continues to go down and down and down all the time. And thus, of course, more people are busted for drinking and driving. Let me read from this art. Who wrote this? This is Tim Slagle wrote this. This is from Liberty Magazine. The stricter standard has made it very easy to get nailed for drunk driving, even when a person is relatively sober. So today, almost everyone knows someone who has been convicted of DUI. Rather than treat those arrests as shameful or an indication of an alcohol problem, most people now just look at DUI as a really bad traffic ticket. Hence, people are lax about getting in the car when they shouldn't. This should be illuminating for anyone who believes that human behaviors can always be controlled. If a law becomes too easy to break, people stop respecting it. I think he makes an excellent point there. If a law becomes too easy to break, people stop respecting it. I have to agree with this, coming from, especially here in Fort Collins, where everybody has a DUI. And let me tell you my DUI story. I don't have a DUI, but I was in a car getting a ride home one time with a friend of mine. She was, I think, 19, 20 at the time. She'd had 2 glasses of wine over a 3-hour period. This was enough to qualify her as drunk, but what was sad was they pulled us over. They went through all their little dog and pony show, and she walked and all of a sudden stuck her hands out and touched her nose. So anyhow, the point is, another policeman showed up to assist the policeman who was helping us too, and he was goofy. He's like, "Hey, it's my first day." I'm serious, I'm not making this up. He's sitting there going, "It's my first day on the job. Wow, so cool. Look, I'm arresting you." I mean, he was like Gomer Pyle. It was fucking sad. Anyhow, Gomer and his backup buddy, it took 2 cops to arrest a 19-year-old girl who had had 2 glasses of wine over a 3-hour period. As I was walking home, because we weren't that far from my house, thankfully, as I was walking home, I passed in front of this local bar known as Washington's. Well, it's not known as, it's called Washington's. I passed by Washington's, and out on the sidewalk in the front of Washington's was a man, boy, human being with male genitalia, was this individual lying on the sidewalk on his back, and above him was another individual with male genitalia who was pounding his face in with his fist. I thought, where the fuck are those 2 pigs? Oh, that's right. They're over there saving society from a 19-year-old girl who had 2 glasses of wine over a 3-hour time frame, because she's obviously a threat to the safety and security of the citizens of Fort Collins and, in fact, the people of the United States of America. Thank God for the boys in Blue, I'm surprised they didn't taser her. Maybe they did once they got her in the back seat with the 14-year-old. This is an article in Reason Magazine. I don't remember what it's about, and it doesn't matter because I have a little circled here fact that is incredible. As of last April, Florida could not even account for the whereabouts of more than 500 children nominally in its custody. Yeah, apparently, it seems to me if you're from Florida, you've got a good chance of disappearing. We have police deputies who pick up people for driving citations, drop them off at the Circle K, and then these people vanish. Meanwhile, we have more than 500 children who were under the care of the government of Florida who have vanished. The government of Florida has no idea where these 500 children are. Maybe some of them are in the backseat of police cars, getting tasered. Maybe some of them are in the backseat of police cars, getting fucked. Maybe some of them were dropped off at Circle K by police deputies. I don't know where these 500 kids are. Neither does the government of Florida. One more example of how the government does such a wonderful job doing all. And I can't wait. I can't wait until the governments, by governments, I mean the federal government and the state governments, I can't wait until the governments get a hold of healthcare. Of course, to a certain extent, they already do run healthcare. But I mean, hey, government of Florida can't print up a ballot that voters can figure out how to use. The hurricane's down there in New Orleans. You've got all of these people in one big building starving to death. The government can't get them food, medical care, or anything else. The government in Florida can't keep track of 500 children. But hey, let's give the government more power. Can you imagine how many people are going to get lost or get tasered in the backseat of police cars when the government is running healthcare? Of course you can't, because you're stupid, because you want the government to run healthcare, because you think when the government runs healthcare it will all be free. Meanwhile, once in a while there is hope for us out there. Once in a very great while. Damar, I'm trying to find this guy's first name. This is an individual who shot criminals breaking into his home. And Hale Damar, a 54-year-old restaurateur. One night, somebody broke into his house. He pulled out his .38, went downstairs. But darn, where does he live? I'm scanning the article real quick. But darn it, you know what? When you live in some communist, where is this communist country that he's living in? It's in Wilmette, a Chicago suburb. So in the People's Republic of Chicago, you're not allowed to own a handgun. He got in trouble for using the handgun to defend himself and his children. Now, what's important here is I want to read you this paragraph. Damar explains his actions this way. Quote, I suppose some would have grabbed their children and cowered in the bedroom, praying that the police would get there in time to stop the criminal from climbing the stairs and confronting the family in the bedroom, trembling, dreading the sound of the door being kicked in. That's not the fear I wanted my children to experience, and it is not the cowardly act that I want my children to remember me by, unquote. Once in a while, there's a man out there. And he's right. He's 100% right. He did exactly the right thing. Take the gun, shoot the fucking criminal, piss on the pigs, piss on the gun control laws, piss on all this other shit. And, this is, of course, what the government tells us via the public schools, which are partially controlled by the corporations, and partially controlled by the media, and partially controlled by the government. This is what don't own a gun, don't defend yourself, just go in your bedroom and close the door and be afraid, and wait for the police to finish dropping people off at Circle K and tasering 14-year-old girls in the backseat of their police cars. Wait for the police to show up and protect you, because you cannot protect yourself. Because you are not capable of doing anything for yourself, and that is why you need the government to do things for you. It never ceases to amaze me how many of you people are perfectly willing to buy into this line of thinking. And you know you are. You totally know you are. That was me puffing on the stogie. What is this? Is there a reason why this is... Oh. No, because I'm on the wrong page. That's why, Randy. Thank you. What do I got here? Ah, yes. This is one of those things. This is Tim Slagle again. Slagle? I guess that's how he says his name. This guy writes a lot of good stuff in Liberty magazine. I end up quoting him a lot. Stand by as I go for the drink of coffee. Yum. As I've said, we need commercial breaks on this show. I need to sell out to some corporation, because if I was playing commercials, that would give me a chance to... Hey, that's not a bad idea. Randy just had a good idea. If I could sell it to some corporation, not only could I make money, but I'd have the opportunity to get a drink of coffee and puff on the stogie without interrupting myself, like I'm doing right now. Thank you. Randy's telling me to get to the point. I know, I'm in a weird mood today. It's because of this great weather caused by global warming. Genetics of scholarship. According to the Associated Press, University of Colorado professor Ward Churchill... I said I was never going to talk about Ward Churchill again. Unfortunately, I am. Hopefully, this will be the last time. This is written by Tim Slagle. According to the Associated Press, University of Colorado professor Ward Churchill is being investigated by a university facility to see if he lied about being an Indian to beef up his credentials as a scholar. Strange that the circumstances of your birth are now considered scholarly credentials. It runs directly counter to the notion that all men are created equal, the major premise this nation was founded upon, and recalls a time when titles were granted at birth. And Tim has a great point there. And think about it. He got the job because... He did get the job because he's supposed to be part Indian. So now your genetic background is a scholarly qualification at institutes of higher learning. That's some frightening shit. Tim Slagle writes another piece down here. Fine for ordinary people. Peter Jennings is seeking treatment for lung cancer. Perhaps I'm being cold to observe that despite all the glowing praise Jennings has heaped upon the single-payer health care plan of his native Canada, he has no intention of seeking treatment there. Of course he doesn't, because in America, the government doesn't run the healthcare system like they do in Canada, and thus, in America, the healthcare system, while granted it is expensive, and granted it has its problems, I know, because unlike most of you out there who think you know something, I've actually worked in a hospital, and I know things that would make your toes curl. I can't talk today. In spite of the problems we do have in our healthcare system, and we do have them. They're not the problems you think they are, but we do have them. In spite of those problems, our healthcare system fucking works. The one in Canada doesn't. That's why people from Canada come here for... I had a friend back in Farmington, New Mexico, Sherry. She was a Canadian, and she also used to go on and on and on about how wonderful the Canadian healthcare plan was. But she and her husband, who is a chiropractor, moved to America from Canada because, number one, her husband could make more money here, and because, number two, they had a daughter who was handicapped. I forget exactly what the daughter had, but it was a handicap in such that she did not develop mentally and physically as quickly as normal people did. So, I think at 4 years old, she was still equivalent to a 6-month-old baby or something. And the Canadian healthcare system was essentially just going to let the kid die. So they came here because here in America, they could get treatment for her. But nonetheless, Sherry, and God knows I love Sherry to death, but nonetheless, she could not shut the fuck up about how wonderful the healthcare system in Canada was. even though they couldn't make any money there to support her extravagant lifestyle. They had this beautiful house, a maid, 5 kids. They bought a new car every year. He went on hunting trips to Africa. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the American healthcare system. Under the Canadian healthcare system, he'd have been getting by on minimum wage. But these fucking Canadians always talk about how wonderful the healthcare system is up there, but you'll notice they don't go back up there for their healthcare needs. They come to the United States. That's it for the magazines. I think that's enough of corrupt policemen tasering 14-year-old girls in the back of their squad car. The last issue stating the obvious, I think it was, I mentioned this quote. I found it. This is Vice President Dick Cheney. In response to criticism about President Bush's defensive government-sanctioned wiretapping, eavesdropping, and other forms of secret spying on U.S. citizens, Bush said that the spying which circumvents the federal court system is necessary to defend America in the wake of 9/11. Amazing how 9/11 can be utilized to justify so much. Yeah, that'll segue me into that. Dick Cheney's quote. If there's a backlash pending, I think the backlash is going to be against those who are suggesting somehow that we shouldn't take these steps to defend the country. It's not an accident that we haven't been hit in 4 years. Unquote. Well, maybe it isn't an accident, but I'm really not sure that Dick Cheney and George Bush and their spying on the American citizens' activities can be credited for preventing more terrorist attacks. My horoscope for this week, I read the horoscopes. I don't believe them, but I read them because I always find it interesting. I read the free will astrology, which is actually really well written. This is my free will astrology horoscope for this week. A central theme of fairy tale justice is that it's always a good idea to be kind to people who don't seem important or beautiful or cool. Characters who honor that principle are invariably rewarded, while those who spurn it are punished. This will be a key idea for you in 2006, Virgo. You can't afford to dismiss those you consider your inferiors, nor should you demonize the less attractive aspects of your own nature. I'm in deep shit, because I do. You can't afford to dismiss those you consider your inferiors. Oh, I can't afford not to dismiss those whom I consider to be my inferiors. On the subject of inferiors, let's go back to Cheney and Vice President Bush after I get a drink of coffee. We got to work on that commercial break you talked about, Randy. I kind of like that. Oh, and I have another note at the top of my piece of paper here. I talked about this briefly. I've talked about this before. Since we talked about cops letting people go at Circle K who are never seen again, and cops arresting 19-year-old girls who had 2 glasses of wine over a 3-hour period while people beat each other up, and cops tasering children, and cops tasering 14-year-old girls in the backseat of their police cars. Why is it that when somebody kills a private citizen, it's really not a big deal? But when you kill a cop, you become a cop killer, and you get on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Not only are cops corrupt, nasty little child molesting, child tasering, people killing pieces of shit, but somehow or another, these people believe they're actually better than the rest of us. If you kill just a normal, ordinary citizen, it's not a big deal. But when you kill a cop, you're a cop killer. Now you're truly a dangerous criminal. See, killing us little people who aren't supposed to defend ourselves because we're not allowed to have handguns, see, that's okay. We can be killed off. No big deal. When you kill a pig, oh, then then you're a bad person. All right. Cheney and Vice President Bush. This is something I should have talked about and written about a long time ago. I never got around to it. Why? Because I'm lazy. What is this? No, I'm just looking at some other stuff down here. Oh. The line of lies that we've been given about Saddam Hussein were given, and even before the weapons of mass destruction argument, is that Saddam Hussein needed to be taken out of power because he was the next Hitler. I heard this over and over and over again. I didn't believe it then. I don't believe it now. But unlike the left, who just sits around and says they don't believe it, I am going to explain to you why Saddam Hussein is not the next Hitler. Was not the next Hitler. Isn't going to be the next Hitler. Never had a chance of being the next Hitler. Number 1. Economy. Adolf Hitler managed to revive the economy of Nazi Germany, or Germany, or whatever you want to call it. Now, there are those who will say that it was a false economy, that it couldn't have lasted, it was propped up by the government, all this other stuff, and all that may be true, but here is the important point is, Adolf Hitler managed to get the economy of Germany to a point where it was able to manufacture, create, supply, sustain the war machine that we saw in action during World War II. And it was an awesome war machine. There's no doubt about that. Saddam Hussein's country, while being potentially incredibly rich, Iraq virtually had nothing because, of course, all the money was going for shit like gold toilets for Saddam Hussein's ass. And, I mean, you know, who knows what, for his weird kids to do sex fantasies or something. Yeah, I don't know what they spent their money on, but the point is, it was not being spent on things like infrastructure, manufacturing, research, all these other things that in Nazi Germany occurred, which allowed the war machine Nazi Germany unleashed upon Europe and the world to exist in the first place. Saddam Hussein's country did not have an economy that could match the economy of Nazi Germany. Reason number 1, that Saddam Hussein was not the next Hitler. Reason number 2, public support. Adolf Hitler had the support of the public. Maybe not everybody, but granted, you know, you have to remember, looking in retrospect, we see something different than what they saw at the time. Adolf Hitler went to the people of Germany and said, look, after World War I, we got fucked over. He didn't say it exactly in these words, of course. He said it more like, "Und ihn, und Stein, und Anschau, Ostermeister," or something like that. But what he essentially said to the people of Germany was, look, after World War I, we got fucked over. We got screwed. Our country got shrunk. We're being laughed at. We're being treated like shit. You people follow me. I am going to lead you to redemption. We are going to get back what is ours. We are going to make Germany a proud and powerful nation again. And the people got into this. A lot of them willingly, happily were there with him because they felt the same way. Hitler knew how to use the sentiments of the German people to bring them around to, well, I was about to say bring them around to his way of thinking. Maybe that's not exactly the best way to say it. He knew how to get their sympathy and to get the people on his side and go towards his common goal. Saddam Hussein, I don't think had a clue how to do anything like that. Saddam Hussein, I don't think, had any support, well, very little support from the people of the country of Iraq. The support he did have was probably the kind of support you get when you tell people, if you don't do it, I tell you I'm going to kill you. So Saddam Hussein did not have the empathy, the sympathy, the support of the public as a whole the way Adolf Hitler did. Third reason Saddam Hussein is not the next Hitler. We touched on this briefly. Adolf Hitler had an incredible military machine at his disposal. He had some of the best generals, some of the best soldiers, some of the best military equipment, airplanes, tanks, the guns. By guns, I mean large guns, howitzers, also. You know, a very technologically advanced military, very well-drilled military, very skilled, very intelligent generals and leadership. Saddam Hussein had none of these things. I mean, Saddam Hussein's army got their butt kicked pretty easily, pretty handily. I don't know of any brilliant military strategist from Iraq. We didn't see any action of any. I mean, they're running around in freaking half-ass inferior Soviet equipment. Also, the country of Iraq had no military war machine to speak of. The ferocious Scud missiles that we were supposed to be so terrified of. Yeah, those were frightening. Saddam Hussein had no military machine to back anything up. And I jumped ahead of myself because the next thing on my list is military/strategic leadership. Again, Hitler in his early days, as a politician/soldier, was pretty sharp. I mean, he took the first couple of countries he took without even firing a shot. He just went in and said, I'm here, do something about it. Everybody backed down. I mean, politically, he was pretty shrewd in the beginning. Now, of course, later, near the end of the war, he lost what mind he had and went insane, which was good for the rest of the world. But Hitler himself was a pretty shrewd and intelligent military political leader, and he had a lot of really good generals backing him up. As I mentioned, Saddam Hussein had nothing as far as military leadership amongst his generals. And Saddam Hussein himself, sorry, if we're looking for shrewd politicians or good strategic military leaders, I don't see Saddam Hussein falling into that category at all. Okay, the man is an idiot. Number 5. Why Saddam Hussein is not the next Adolf Hitler. Nazi Germany had some brilliant scientists. They came up with the V-2 rocket. They came up with flying saucers. They came up with the jet aircraft. They came up with ways of making rubbers and plastics and jet fuels from unconventional materials. They were very intelligent people. They pioneered submarine warfare. I mean, where are the great Iraqi scientists who are going to help to propel Saddam Hussein's military victory using science? You know, where are the new weapons? Nothing is going to come out of Iraq. Those people could barely have flush toilets, all right? There's no military technology, scientific research going on. They're not going to invent some new... I mean, my God, they're using this old Scud things that can barely hit the side of a barn, okay? There was no scientific, technological threat from the scientist or the military of Iraq. It is for these 5 reasons: the economy, public support, military machine, military/strategic leadership, and science, that Saddam Hussein was not, is not, and will not be the next Adolf Hitler, and Iraq is most definitely not the next Germany. Iraq is simply not, was not, is not, will not be a threat to the United States if we would just get the fuck out. The only way that country is a threat to the United States is if we stay over there and keep fucking up, which is apparently what we're going to do because that's what we do best. And when I say we, I of course mean your government officials, because you elected the dumb son of a bitches. I didn't. Well, holy crap, we're at 43 already. That took a lot longer than I thought it would. I do not even want to delve into this other stuff because this is going to take way longer than what we have left, and I don't want to go long. Let me flip through this real quick. Is there anything that I want to cover? Let me talk about this monkey real quick. Nut-cracking gorilla shows a talent for tools. Listen to this. This gorilla in a zoo started cracking nuts spontaneously. It says, started cracking nuts spontaneously and was not influenced by humans. The gorilla is taking a nut, sitting the nut. Now, when I say nut, I mean the kind of nut you... Okay, I was about to say the kind of nut you eat, but some of you out there eat nuts. A nut like a peanut or a walnut, not the kind of nut that you teabag. This gorilla, that would suck, man. The gorilla takes its nut, puts and cracks it. Ooh! Even if you're a gorilla, you'd only do that once. I've cracked my nuts. Let me tell you something. I do not want to do that again. I'm sure as I'm not going to do it by choice. Okay. This gorilla started cracking nuts in this zoo by taking the nut, sitting it on a rock, and then taking another rock and hitting the nut with the rock and breaking it and cracking it open. And this is amazing to these people. They're going, wow, is remarkably proficient at cracking nuts. It takes most chimpanzees many years to reach similar levels of proficiencies. The gorilla's actions led some scientists to believe that gorillas in the wild might exhibit complex tool use as well, though no one has reported such behavior. Well, first of all, I theorize that pigs might fly, even though no one has reported such behavior. But more importantly, I thought gorillas were supposed to be so goddamn smart. And now this gorilla's cracking a nut open by using 2 rocks, and we're acting like this is some major intellectual achievement. I mean, I thought gorillas were such geniuses. I don't know, it surprised me because I kind of figured most gorillas knew how to crack a nut open with a rock. I can't believe that this actually qualifies as news. That's why I'm so amazed by it. I never knew gorillas were that fucking stupid that they didn't know how to crack a nut open with a rock. Alright. I am going to save the rest of this. Randy, go ahead and play the music. We're going to be back in a little bit. We're going to talk about global warming, which is making it 60 degrees outside and really nice. We're going to talk about you people's reliance on the government. We're going to talk about the government. We're going to talk about downtown Fort Collins. We're going to talk about children and leash laws. We're going to talk about religion. We're going to have some fun with religion. So, we'll be back soon.